Greetings, this is Melanie with insight-frames.com. This week I have a question from Norway. For a friend of mine, we're working on a project together, and he started to use his cards and read for himself. That went pretty well, but had a question for me too, to see how it would come across. So I'm going to switch screens here. So his question is, soon I'll be 49 years old, and this is from Peter in Norway. I work as a care worker in a nursing home. I like what I do, but I doubt if I will be enjoying it as much in the years to come. Should I continue in this line of work? Perhaps take a study? Should I switch to something completely different? At the end of the summer, my children will have all left the house, providing a natural crossroads with new opportunities and freedom. So his question is, he's at a crossroads. What should he do with his career? He's feeling like he needs a change. So I'm going to switch back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull some cards right here, and then I will go ahead and interpret the cards a little bit, stop the camera while I think about his question, and then I'll come back with the interpretation. So Peter, I hope you enjoy this. So for the person card, the unconscious card, what is he thinking about unconsciously? What are his deeper motivations or the path his life is taking? For the conscious card, what is he talking about? What is he planning? What is he reading? What is he discussing with other people? What is he writing about? And for the action card, what are the immediate actions that Peter could take to help him decide what to do? And sometimes that's the thing that gives us all the most pause, is actually trusting our own intuition and acting on our motivations, even when it seems a little bit scary. So what's an action for Peter on this question of what's next for him? Oh, the very end card. Okay, let's see what these cards are. And this time, unlike other videos I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and have them upside down already. So for Peter, in the person position is censor. That's really appropriate for him right now. In the conscious position is the archivist. In the unconscious position is logic. That's a card that doesn't come up too often on the unconscious side. So that's really interesting, Peter. For the action side, repository. Okay, repository and archivist kind of go together. That's going to be interesting to think about. And logic and censor, like a censor is kind of very emotional and empathic, touchy-feely, and logic is very cut and dried. So that's an interesting, so these two cards are extremely similar, but these two cards are very different. So this is going to be interesting to interpret. So I am going to turn off the camera for a little bit. I'm going to think about this, write some thoughts down, and then I will come back. Okay, I'm back. So this is just one of the most interesting set of cards, one of the most interesting frames I've ever seen. Peter, you must be really strongly feeling the influence of something coming into you that is just asking you and pointing out to you things that it's like all around you, driving you forward and moving you forward in this next phase of your life. So to recap, his question was, and what I mostly thought about here is, should I continue in this line of work that I have right now, or should I switch? So this is a big life decision, even for anyone. People switch careers midlife a lot. That's kind of a human thing. You get a certain level of expertise and you feel like you've achieved something, and then you're ready for the next challenge. So that's a very human thing that happens a lot. But it's also a very big thing because you change your priorities, you spend money, you switch things. People don't understand what you're doing. Why do you want to go off and do this? You're so good at what you're doing right now. So there's a lot of different things to deal with when you're considering making the switch. So right now, Peter's deciding, and he wants to trust his intuition, because once you get going on this next path, you have to commit to it, both financially and spiritually and intellectually. So you want to feel really good that you're doing the right decision. So the sensor card at the top is a very interesting card, because one of the things that you can do with the sensor card is flip it upside down. There's a couple of cards in the deck that you can flip upside down. So this tree, so this is Peter. So this stands for him right now. He is a sensor. And it's funny that there's even this guy at the bottom that when I first looked at this card, I thought that was you, Peter. When my illustrator and I were going over this card, I didn't really like that person at the bottom, but he felt strongly about it for some reason. And the more I looked at it, the more I liked it, because this is, all of us, we're all rooted in our physical reality, but we always have that path open, like in this card here, of getting experiences and information that comes in. So this eye right here on the card really it can kind of stand for how you're feeling in your heart, how you're feeling in your head, but it's the collective distilling of all of the senses that are coming in that go down to you as a earthly person. So this is you. It really is you. And the sensor card has to do with protecting yourself, keeping that conduit open of ways to get information and about your decisions, and ways to get more data into your inner data. So if you think about this, Peter's inner data is all down here, and the information is flowing through down to him. The upside down of this card is that right now, he is feeling the effect of all of the things that he's done so far as his roots informing, like, up spiritually where he wants to go as a physical being. So this card is really about, like this, cause and effect. cause and effect. So Peter's feeling this right now, that everything in his life has caused him to come to this certain point and make decisions about where he is in his career, but it's also had an effect that now he's feeling really stuck in it. On the conscious side is the archivist, and the archivist we've talked about in some other videos here. But the archivist is a person that takes stock of things that are in their life. So for Peter, these are all the decisions, all the tiny million little decisions that have got him to this point in his career. And then that's him. And out of all those decisions that he's made, he feels like he needs to take one and go forth and do something else with it. All the things that have made him him, this big pile that you see on the archivist card, this big pile of decisions is kind of like toppling. It's toppling over a little bit for him. Maybe he's taking something out of here away to like the core of himself. He's taking what's valuable to him out of this big toppling heavy pile of decisions that he's made along the way. So this is what he's talking about. On the conscious part of the frame is things that you're talking about, listening to, reading, going to websites, discussing with other people, doing research. So right now he might be researching schools he could go to, different jobs, maybe different cities he might want to move to now that all of his kids are leaving the house. So the logic card is really unusual to appear in the unconscious position. So the logic card is like that on-off switch on your computer. So unconsciously, he is feeling like this is really a switching point in his life. He feels like whatever has come before needs to be switched off, and something else that he's doing needs to be switched on. The other thing about this symbol is that it's just like the sensor card. You can turn these upside down and interpret them just a little bit differently than if you turn them this way. So, and again, logic in the unconscious is very methodical. So unconsciously, it's I mean, you can't really think unconsciously in a methodical way, but unconsciously, he knows this is going to be a big change, on, off, and he's feeling ready for it. He's feeling prepared for the switch. It's almost like a practical, logical matter to actually go forward with that switch. He's getting lots of input mentally, spiritually, physically about what to do, and he is distilling this information down. So on the unconscious side for logic, logic card has to do with the dualities of being a person, mind and heart, the sacred, non-negotiable things in your life. Anything might happen in your life, but I'm absolutely not going to do this, no matter what happens. You're non-negotiable. For some people, one of those sacred non-negotiables might mean, I'm never going to leave my hometown. I love it here. I'm never going to leave. For some people, it's, I'm never going to get married, or I will never work in sales. People say, I hate it. I can't do it. I don't like public speaking. It's that non-negotiable thing unconsciously for Peter on the logic card of where he can see that point. That breaking point here that he can see, he can feel it coming. And this is what's prompting some of his question. For the action part is repository. Now, this is a card that we've never had on the video before. Repository is very interesting. When you look at it, it's about, you see the little people at the bottom of the card. The people are putting things away. They are categorizing things. And the word repository actually means to do again. Posit means like to deposit. So to put things back in place again. And I get the feeling for you, Peter, that the decision you're trying to make is going to put you back in the place, back in your place again, the thing that makes you feel most like yourself. Not like you're doing something else for other people, but it's going to be for you. And so, the action, when the repository card comes up in the action, means to back up your data, like a computer repository. You have backups of your files. So for an action, that would be to make sure you have things in place. It might mean to save your money. It might mean to categorize the experiences of your life so that you can make a better decision. So the person on this card here, they have open spots where things would go in. But when you categorize things, whether you're working with computers, no matter what you're doing, fixing your closets at your house, when you categorize things, your head feels clearer. You can see what things are of value, what things are not of value. It doesn't mean you're throwing away all those older experiences, but you're categorizing so that you can get straight in your mind what things need to be filled in and what can I just put away for a while. The repository card also is about preparation. So you save things, you put things up, you categorize it, like if you're in a museum, so that people can see like a little history. When you go into a museum, you can see like a history of mammals, from when they started as dinosaurs all the way up till they are now. So when you see that longitudinal history of things as a category, you really get a feel for motion, where it's going, where it's been, and that time has passed. So Peter, the conclusion I kind of came to from these cards, which is just so interesting because this card is very emotional and sensitive. This card, especially in the unconscious, is very logical, cut and dried. So these are kind of opposed. These two things are very the same. So your conscious thoughts and your actions are aligned. You're going the right direction, whatever you're thinking. Your person and your unconscious are kind of at odds. So your unconscious is kind of making you get to this point of yes, no, do it, not do it, having that non-negotiable, this is something I won't do no matter what. So maybe that's what you need to listen to more, since these things, what you're actually doing is aligned. Where you might want to concentrate on is just the feelings and emotions and unconscious thoughts you have about making this break. Especially with the line right here on the logic, unconsciously, and the on-off symbol, it feels like you do need to make that break, that it'll be good for you. So the summary that I have for Peter is that he's feeling the draw of these influences here. Unconsciously, he is defining his non-negotiables, what he will or will not do. Consciously, he's taking stock of what's going on. And the action is to categorize your experiences with the things that you will and will not do. Save up, sort things, and then take from that repository the next thing. What's that blank spot? What's missing in there that you would like to fill in for the whole of your life's experience? This is a very interesting reading. Peter, I wish you so much luck with your decision. It seems like whatever's going through you right now is being driven from a higher place, and you should act on that. Just save up, get ready, prepare for what's coming. So this is this week's question for Insight Frames. And watch some of the other videos. Let me know what you think. And if you have a question, make sure to email it in to me and we'll do it next week. Thanks. Bye, Peter.